Aloha, snack bar, everyone. It is I, the Senor Silverback, the gorilla in the economist, coming to you on another special edition of Hump Day. With the man, the myth, the legend, the men hate him, the women want to be with him. He is known as the Baron of Bitcoin, the Sultan of Silver, the Gandalf, the Wizard of Gold himself, the Pathfinder, and the Navigator, the Google Maps of the road to Ruta, none other than Bixweir. What's up, Bix?
I'm doing well. I've been working on changing a Christmas song, believe it or not. Remember that Rudolph cartoon from when we were kids? I'm sure.
I love that song.
And the theme song was that song Silver and Gold, right? Silver and gold, silver and gold, right?
Yes.
We need to change it to silver and gold and Bitcoin, silver and gold and Bitcoin. What do you think? Is that a good idea?
Yeah, it's a brilliant idea, man. So that's great.
We'll talk to Burl Ives. That's the guy's name, right? Burl Ives.
I guess. Which brings us to our first main topic of the day for the program, my man, is when should I sell my silver, gold, and or Bitcoin? That's the question a lot of people want to know.
I know. Well, I send out these questions to my subscribers, the private road people, the people who are knee deep in the road to Ruta with me. And I said, all right, send me all your questions. And I got back some just amazing questions. I mean, these are like the smartest people around. So I've been like researching all these things. And yeah, that was the number one, was when should I sell my silver and gold? You know, they're not selling it today, and Bitcoin. They're not selling it today, obviously, because of all the stuff we talk about. I guess it gets down to why you got into silver, gold, and Bitcoin in the first place.
Yeah.
If you got into it to make a buck, you should be looking at this as a trading opportunity. When it goes up and it's feeling like the highs, goes up 10-20%, sell, and then buy back after it falls down. And if you can do that successfully, your name is JP Morgan, and you rig the market so you can pretty much predict what's going to happen. But most of the people that I talk to are in it because they got in it originally because it was a sound investment. The supply-demand dynamics, the situation with the dollar, things like that, the situation with the stability of every nation these days. And that's a great reason to get in. And then after they got in, for the most part, they said, oh my God, this, silver and gold markets are rigged. I can't believe this. And then they either ran away from them because, who wants to play in a rigged market? Or they said, this is bullshit. I am going to fight this fight.
Right.
And I'm going to stay in until the rigging ends.
Mm.
So, I mean, that's me. That's what I've been doing for the last 15 years. I'm going to stay in until the rigging ends, and then I'll look around and make decisions. One of the decisions is I would never trade my gold, silver, Bitcoin for the same type of unbacked fiat money that we see today.
Right.
So it's kind of like, okay, if you sell your silver and gold after the manipulation ends, what's your next move? Obviously there'd be a big dinner with a big party because you did so well with all your friends and family who have been teasing you all these years. But after that, you're going to have to decide on, what's the next undervalued asset.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that comes down to timing. I would guess at that time, after all this stuff blows over, hopefully one day, it'll be probably some kind of new invention, new technology that's coming on, and since you made so much money on your brilliant move in the early days in gold and silver, you probably risk some of that money on some of these new technologies, which are unbelievable. I think coming down the pike. Especially in the world of 3D printing and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of what I would do. But now is not the time to make a move, though. It's wait for the end of the manipulation.
Right. I mean, volatility's through the roof. Why would anybody want to just dish out something or get rid of something that it's going to double or triple or quadruple in value?
Keep going.
A quintuple.
What's 100 times for silver? I mean, there is no limitation on what the price of silver should be in an unrigged market, because silver hasn't had an unrigged market for like 150 years. So I'm really looking forward to that moment in time.
Plus, we're running out of it, man.
We're running out of it. Yeah. I mean, back in the only real physical silver conspiracy, like in gold, I find all kinds of hidden gold conspiracies, from Yamashita's gold to the Grand Canyon gold to the Chocolate Mountain gold to Nazi gold. There's all kinds of conspiracies about these large hoards of gold out there, and a lot of them have a lot of facts behind them. So there's at least some truth to probably most of them. With silver, you don't find that many at all.
Yeah.
I think the biggest one that I discovered back 10 years ago was the silver used in the Manhattan Project in these things called calutrons, the magnets that they used in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, when they were making their first atom bomb.
Yeah.
And yeah, they borrowed, and this is fact coming out of fact coming from whistleblowers. Not even whistleblowers, it was on the website after a while, because this is the 1940s, that they borrowed somewhere between 500 million ounces of silver and 3 billion ounces of silver from the U.S. Treasury. And nobody really knows how much they borrowed, but they needed the silver for these magnets. Obviously, the silver was just sitting in the U.S. Treasury vault and wasn't doing anything. So they secretly shuttled the silver to get melted down and make these gigantic magnets to make enriched uranium. And for at least 50 years, that's what they were using to make enriched uranium, to make atomic weapons. And then what I discovered is that in the early 1990s, a decision was made to shut down the operation of the calutrons and pull the silver out.
Yeah.
And I believe it was done because there was such a huge shortage of physical silver in the 1990s. That's when Buffett was buying up his 120 million ounces. But this was much bigger than that. And the reason I kind of put these things together is that, one, it was announced that that facility was shutting down and being torn down. And I knew the silver, they claim the silver was removed right after World War II, which is ridiculous. You made the most important scientific facility in the world, and you shut it down after you make the greatest weapon in the world. You shut it down right away? No, you wouldn't do that. You'd keep using it. And they did. And they announced the official shutdown in the early 1990s. And the reason I know they pulled the silver out is if you look at the export data from the U.S. During 94, 95, and 96, it went up like 10 times. And it was just unbelievable amounts of silver being exported. The amount of silver we're pulling out of the mines was exactly the same. Silver data doesn't really change that much, is the amazing thing. For such a volatile price, the supply and demand doesn't really change that much. But the exports just went through the roof. And you can still look at the USGS silver export data and see I think it's 94, 95, and 96. They jumped from like 2,000 tons to 15,000 tons each year, and then back to 2,000 tons after the 3 years. So yeah, they tore down the facility, pulled the silver out, melted it down into bars, sent about half of it over to the LBMA vaults over there to satisfy demand, and then the other half I think they kept in the U.S. For various reasons. But yeah, silver. But that's the only one I've ever seen. The only silver stash conspiracy that I can find. But there's gold conspiracies everywhere, but the only silver one is that. And have you heard of any other ones out there?
In terms of silver conspiracies, no. There's in terms of gold conspiracies, it's like 50 to 1.
Yeah, exactly. And we're talking physical, on the physical side.
Yeah, exactly.
Not electronic books.
Yeah. Right, exactly. On the physical side itself, I mean, the gold conspiracy that I firmly believe is Yamashita's gold. That is
and there was some silver with that. There's some silver and
artwork and some gems and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Predominantly, it was gold that was being taken out at an alarming rate. But yeah, no. In terms of gold to silver ratio, yeah, there's far more gold conspiracies out there than there is silver conspiracies.
The ratio is hysterical because if you look at every single metric ever, historical ratio, the percentage you pull out of the ground versus at gold and silver, it's like everything's anywhere from 10 to 1 to 15 to 1. Everything absolutely everything, even the amount of silver that the what is it, the U.S. Mint sells in Silver Eagles. Actually, it's even. They sell 1-to-1.
Yeah.
The dollar amount, but every single ratio you look at except one, price. That's the only thing that isn't in the 10 to 15 to 1 ratio. And right now, what's priced like 70 to 1, something ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And if those who say, well, historically it's been average of 12 to 1. Well, historically, we've only started consuming silver, as in using it up in electronics, in the last 60 or 70 years. So even that historical average of 12 to 1, let's say, really today, because we've used up so much silver, it should be a 1-to-1 ratio. And silver is much more important than gold in the usage these days. So yeah, so many. I mean, I've been saying this for how long? 15 years. And I'll keep saying it until they stop rigging the price.
Yeah. Exactly, man. And it's a valuable thing to hold. The same thing with Bitcoin. See, the beautiful thing is that when you look at gold and you look at silver and you look at Bitcoin, it's finite. It's finite.
Wait. I wouldn't say that. I would say that Bitcoin is finite.
Yeah, Bitcoin's finite, but
Bitcoin's 21 million ounces that will ever be created. Gold and silver are scarce.
They're scarce. I mean, they might but being on planet Earth, there's always going to be a limit to how much gold or silver you're going to discover.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. I know we haven't discovered all the silver. I know we haven't discovered all the gold.
Yeah,
I think,
but at the end of the day, it's not abiotic like gold. I'm sorry, like oil. It's not abiotic like oil.
I think I do think it is. I think all. So? Yeah, I think. Well, if oil is, I think everything's abiotic. And
there's certain things that are not, like platinum, man. Platinum's not abiotic. Platinum's
where'd it come from then?
Platinum didn't even come from. It's not even. It's an extraterrestrial metal. It didn't come from Earth. It came here through asteroid strikes.
Who said that?
Dude, trust me. That's
what they all say. That asteroid strikes. I think that's.
No.
I think all material on Earth is created in the center of the Earth. It's the Earth expansion stuff, which you see a lot of these days. I mean, and it's created. I mean, it takes a long time, obviously, to create matter. But anybody interested in how the Earth was formed and why it's growing, which it is growing, and we can see all kinds of cracks in the Earth going on right now. Go on to YouTube and look up expanding Earth model, and you'll see it. And I think everything's abiotic on Earth. Yeah, an asteroid will hit the Earth and scatter some rocks around, but I don't think that's not where gold comes from. Gold's embedded in rock and all that.
Obviously, gold. Just the platinum group of metals. It's not from.
I don't know. I think everything. If it can create oil from the center of the Earth, I believe it can create anything. It can create water, which I think is probably the most prevalent thing that's created, or hydrogen. But yeah, I mean, that's science way above my pay grade. But I kind of get the basics of it, and I understand that when you look at how the Earth is expanding, which it is, and they can say plate tectonics is just shuffling around on the surface of a molten core. I think it's much more than that. And you see cracks in the Earth all over the place these days as we expand more and more, because the sun is getting bigger, and you notice the sun's not yellow anymore, it's turning white. Lots of changes going on with planet Earth. How do we get on this subject?
I don't even know.
Abiotic. From my understanding, abiotic means it's created in the Earth.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Like some oil, chemical.
That's why, like, people who went on a limb with this whole peak oil nonsense, and I was like, and they just ran out there, and I think one guy who was like one of the head guys of pushing the peak oil theory, I think it was Michael Rupert. He eventually offed himself. Sad to say.
Yeah. Well, somebody offed him. It's tough being in the oil analysis business, because if you get something right, they're going to take you out.
Yeah.
But the interesting, I think, about oil, about our current reserves, if it's true that the Earth is expanding, which I believe it is, then that could wreak havoc on these pools of oil we think are going to be there when we want to tap them. For example, the largest oil find supposedly on the conspiracy side is up in Gull Island off of Alaska.
Sure.
And this is the one that Lindsey Williams was talking about, this gigantic oil find that Atlantic Richfield found back in the 60s, and they decided to cap it, and we can use everybody else's oil first, blah, blah, blah. Well, what I think might happen, if you understand how, if the Earth is expanding, and which I believe it is, and these kind of pockets of oil, they might just disappear with one expansion move. A crack happens and the oil runs somewhere else. So yeah, I think I can't predict how much oil that we're going to have, but I know the official numbers are wrong. I think there's a lot of oil down deep, which the Russians definitely found up in the Arctic.
Right.
When they're deep drilling.
Yeah, they got the deepest drills, man. Their drills go the deepest.
But after a while, it becomes uneconomic to get it out.
Yeah.
Because it costs a lot of money to dig that deep. And so, yeah, but overall, I think the future of oil on the demand side is going to be crappy, because I think we're going to have new ways to get around and new ways to make heat, and you know, we're gonna have new inventions on that front. So,
right.
Anyway,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's funny how we kind of wander off in certain directions.
I like it, man. That's what makes the show entertaining and fun.
Oh.
You know, you never know what you're gonna get. It's like the Hump Day is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
Okay, Forrest. Okay.
So let me ask you this, man. You think Trump is waiting to get his cabinet appointments in place before he pulls the plug and lets the whole system crash?
Well, yes and no. I think he's definitely not doing some things right now until he gets everybody in place. Jeff Sessions is a great example. Supposedly they're voting on him today, and that's the Attorney General, and that's the guy whose job it is to enforce the law.
Right.
And you know, it's the CIA and the FBI and the NSA. They're all supposed to be running around, catching criminals and stuff. And then they bring them to the Justice Department, who's going to prosecute these people. Well, I think the FBI has done the work on the pedophile stuff, and the New York Police Department, and they've just been waiting for a non-criminal to be the Attorney General. I think because
that's why the pushback against Sessions is so.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, that's exactly why. Not half. It's not half of Congress I hear now. Now I hear it's about 70 people within D.C., a lot of congressmen, but definitely high-ranking operatives that are going to be taken down with the Pizzagate stuff. So yeah, that has to happen now. And they arrested 470 something people already in
474 in California.
Yeah,
I heard also there was a bunch of arrests in Pennsylvania as well.
Yeah. And there'll be more. I mean, remember when Sessions was going through his grilling in Congress, Dianne Feinstein, the head of the what's her head? She's the head of the Congressional Oversight Committee for shit. Anyway, she's one of the legal departments. She said the first thing, what are you going to do about the most important issue facing our nation today, child trafficking? And everybody was just kind of shocked, because half the people on that panel are involved in it.
Right. And they're like, and
if you notice, it was almost immediately after she said that the arrest started in L.A.
It really is. It's within a matter of 2 to 3 weeks. Then all of a sudden you had the arrests. Actually,
the amazing thing is, here's the amazing thing to me. A lot of people only heard about those arrests through the conspiracy networks, through the alt media. The regular media didn't even cover it.
No, 474 people get arrested, and you don't hear a peep out of it.
For pedophilia and child trafficking.
Nothing to see here, folks.
Here's the other, and children were freed. They got all these children free. Here's the thing. When they did this, when they announced it, when the law enforcement announced it, there was about 30 of them on stage from different departments, chiefs of different, look up the video on, you can go right to I think it's the LA police website, but or go on YouTube and look up pedophile press conference. And they know how important this is, and they know how powerful these people are. So they couldn't have just one or two people up there saying, yeah, we busted all these people, because they'd be taken out. They had about 30 on stage, every single one introduced themselves and where they work before anything was announced. It was amazing, and it was quite a show of force for those trying to track down these criminals. So, yeah, I think when Jeff Sessions gets in, so back to the Trump thing, yeah, Trump is definitely waiting for the people, not only the right people to be in the right places, but to start culling out some of the criminals within the offices. Some of the Obama criminals, and a lot have been fired already, but there's more that need firing. He's still getting leaks out of all his departments because there's ex-Obama people saying, "Oh my God, he's running the country in there." And the latest was they said, "Oh, the White House is in chaos," and blah blah blah. And these are all Obama people who still work for certain departments within the State Department and all this. So they're going to go through firing, and I think they pretty much know who the real bad evildoers are. So once all that gets into place, which I think Jeff Sessions is kind of the final piece for the arrest to start, because now we'll have, if he gets approved today, which is supposed to be a congressional vote today, if he does get approved, you've got someone to prosecute the criminals. And I think starting with the pedophilia stuff and the Pizzagate and the Clinton emails, and because she's knee deep in it. The rumors are that Bill Clinton is singing like a canary, although I don't know why he would sing, because he's knee deep in it too. So we'll see how it goes over so it starts now. I think if Jeff Sessions gets in over the next 3 or 4 weeks, we're going to see a lot of shakeup within our government, and that will translate over to the markets, and gold and silver should do very well. And as you can see from when Trump got in, slow and steady wins the race, baby. Slow and steady going up. There, I've seen a couple times when they tried to slam it, but it really wasn't being slammed. And I don't know. It's probably Mnuchin trying to slam it with his buddies at Goldman and JP Morgan.
Oh, Mnuchin.
But it's not being slammed. And the setup isn't there either, which is interesting, because if you look at like the 2011 slam, the Silver drive-by shooting, what happened was Bill Daley, who was working for J.P. Morgan, he was on Jamie Dimon's SWAT team, is what they called it. In January of 2011, he was put in charge of he was put in Obama's White House as his chief of staff, right-hand man to the president. The price of silver literally went up 45 degrees from $20 to $50 in 3 months, and then was just slammed and brutalized. And by the end of the year, it was right back at $20. And that was I call it JP Morgan's Operation Silver Slam. And it was a complete operation. As soon as it went back to $20, Bill Daley went back to JP Morgan. And so, yeah, that was all. But that kind of stuff is not happening right now. You don't see the setup. You don't see all the weak hands getting into silver, getting excited about it. It's pretty much people have been through the slams over and over and over again, just waiting it out. Yeah. So that's a good sign, and I think Bitcoin up over 1,000 again. It like I said, slow and steady wins the race. They don't want it to run too fast, but they want to be there as a choice, as a viable option when the system falls apart. So yeah, it's exciting times.
Yeah, it really is, man. It really is. So let me ask you this, man. One of the big questions that a lot of people have is, if all debt's eliminated, okay, how will this affect individual property ownership, and what happens to personal debt, as in personal loans, mortgages, car loans, credit cards, etc.?
That's the $100 trillion question. And I get this all the time. Everybody talks about a debt jubilee.
Yeah.
Because it's in the Bible. It's all over the place that if there's a derivative meltdown and these banks crash, everybody keeps their assets and money in the banks. Even your third party keep their money in the banks. So if that bank goes down and is gone, destroys your assets with it, will they be able to say, well, you still have this debt? My first answer to that is it depends how big the crash is. If it's a crash like 2008 when they saved the banks, all of that will be there, and then they'll re-liquidate the whole system, and we'll just start from a higher dollar base and just keep going. I don't think they can do that this time. I don't think they want to do that this time. The problems are so much more bigger than in 2008. So yeah, I do think the banks will be unable to collect on any of their loans and mortgages and credit cards and anything like that, because they've lost everything else, because they're leveraged. So when a bank loses 10%, they're out of business. So you'll lose your checking account, savings account, and all that. But the big problem with a majority of people in the world today is the amount of debt they hold.
Yeah.
And so that debt will just go away. It will be uncollectible debt. You won't need a bankruptcy, because all the lawyers and judges and they'll all be without anything either. I mean, it's one of those things. Would a judge enforce your credit card bill to be paid when the judge lost everything as well?
Right, exactly.
And the police officers lost everything as well, and everybody loses everything. So the meltdown, which is likely, I believe likely, I just don't know when, that would have happened in 2008 had they not bailed out the banks. I think the anger is obviously there not to bail out the banks again, on definitely on the Democrat side, but I think also on the Republican side. And so then it comes down to, okay, what happens? Who owns these assets? And if the banks have legal right to them, I don't think it's enforceable. Most of the loans and car loans and house loans, they don't even have ownership of anyway. They have put them into mortgage-backed securities and CDOs, right, and all that. So banks these days don't even hold assets. They sell them off into derivatives, and it's all held in the name of Seed and Company. Would Seed and Company, aka probably the Rothschilds, own everything? Maybe, but how could they enforce it? It's one of those things. Yeah, a small crash in the banks, maybe it might be enforceable, but a large crash, nothing is enforceable. So it'll come down to who's got what. What do you possess?
Right.
What do you possess, and what can you defend? If a bank comes or someone comes to repossess your car, they're going to have to get paid by someone, and you have a gun to hold them off, or the cops won't be working to help these people.
So I think car in a garage.
Yeah, it'll obviously be messy.
Yeah.
I think the messiest will be ownership of companies, public companies that are traded on the exchanges, because right now there's 10 owners or 20 owners for every share of stock out there. So who owns what? At the end of the day, everybody says, oh, well, at least I have a share and certificate in this mining company. I go, well, with 1 million shares out there and 10 million people saying I own the same share, what are you going to do? How can you enforce that?
Yeah.
And it won't be enforced, and it'll either go through some kind of remediation, bankruptcy type of thing for 20 years trying to figure out who owns what, or most likely the current employees of the mining company will end up with, well, actually I think the governments will end up taking over the mining companies. But if they don't, it'll be the employees who have their hands on it, whoever's in possession. Same with your car and your house. Yeah, you'll own your house flat out. You won't have a deed. You don't have a deed anyway, because all the deeds are in the MERS system. But you'll have your house, and you'll live in your house, and it all comes down to how do we go forward from there. I think there's a reallocation plan in the United States, but will people accept it? A lot of my work goes into what the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston said in the Road to Ruta comic books, is like they don't know. they have some ideas, but they don't know if the people will accept it. The idea in the Road to Ruta comics is to reallocate money according to Social Security balances. That way you get, the people who have paid in the most for the longest amount of time will get the most first, and then it's kind of trickled down. But even the book, the Fed Boston the Road to Ruta Teacher's Guide says, what if the people don't agree to this? What if they don't like this system? What if they don't want this system? What are the other options? If you read the Road to Ruta Teacher's Guide, this is the guide to that comic book that the Fed put out.
Yeah.
If you read that, there are hundreds of questions in there. and very few answers. I mean, the questions are smart questions and questions people will ask, but there's very few answers in there. They don't know if people would accept the reallocation of money in any form or rhyme or reason. They don't know if people will accept using gold as money after the crash. They don't know anything because we've never been through this. Historically, when fiat money crashes or unbacked money crashes, it goes back to gold and silver. But there's never been a world reserve currency that we have an unbacked world reserve currency. I think the gold and silver are world currencies, but there's never been an unbacked world currency that people have all blindly bought into, and that's what we have today with the U.S. dollar and all unbacked fiat currencies. So yeah, it's going to be a freaking mess, and there aren't going to be correct answers. There will be, it's going to be chaos. You got to prepare yourself with gold, silver, Bitcoin, food and water, guns.
Absolutely. The next question, sir, that is trending right now amongst a lot of the listeners is, how can there be a general currency reset before the banks and the markets have been crashed?
There can't. Before or after, there's a lot of people who have looked at the NESRA bill. This was written in the late 90s, and the NESRA is the National Economic Stability and Recovery Act. It was a plan to go back to a kind of rejigger the debt and try to keep the system going. But here's the problem. The problem is when there is a crash, and nor can any of these other plans out there. And there's a lot of plans out there, the secret hidden gold funds and the Durham Trust and all this stuff. The problem is twofold. One, we have a massive misallocation of money. The majority of the money is held in the hands of just a few people. And if you were going to do a reset like that they're proposing, then the problem lies in that, the money's reset, but the percentages stay the same. The rich are still rich and the poor are still poor. And that, that's a gigantic problem. How do you get the money that you're going to rejigger out of these Cayman Island funds and all that stuff? It can't be done if you're just going to revalue the currencies or back the currencies or anything. You need to destroy the currencies to get rid of the secret money held by the few. And so that's why I don't think there will be any currency reset that will be accepted. They will attempt it, the special drawing rights from the IMF and things like that, and they'll try to back or semi-back the currencies with gold, non-redeemable. All that will be attempted, but nobody's going to believe it. Nobody's going to trust. The key is trust will be lost. Our monetary masters are going to lose the trust of the people when the banks crash. And we saw it in 2008. Had there been no bailout, and we've learned so much since 2008. Had there been no bailout, the people would not have trusted the monetary masters, the Fed and the Treasury and the European criminals and the EU and the IMF. They wouldn't trust them to start up the system again, because this is a faith-based currency.
Yeah.
So would you put your faith in the same people that screwed it up? No. So no, I don't think there will be a reset. I don't think at all. I think there'll be a destruction and then a redistribution of something new. I think that's exactly what the Fed Boston is saying in the Road to Ruta conference.
Absolutely correct, man. What do you think about this, man? The other thing is, again, back to silver, Bitcoin, the precious metals question that comes up often is how can silver and Bitcoin holders capitalize on their holdings? You kind of described it a little bit, retirement accounts, etc. If and when the dollar collapses, how are they going to do it? They're going to just go to Jimmy John's coin and carry down the street? I mean, are they going to trade with Pablo or on the corner? What's going on?
Well, the retirement accounts, in any metal you hold in a retirement account, that retirement account better be in your own possession. The big problem when the banks crash and when the next hiccup comes is going to be third-party default. If everybody
Right.
loses their checking account, no one's going to guard your money, your silver or gold when it's in a safe.
And I think, and I have to agree with you. I think that's also one of the things that majority of people ignore, bro. Is the market is massively like flush with third party counter risk. It is rife. Everything in Wall Street is third party counter risk. Everything.
Oh yeah, and you don't know it either, because
Right.
you'll keep your retirement with Schwab, so you think your risk is Schwab, but Schwab's got 50 other risks behind it.
Right.
So they have their 400 risks and counterparty risks, and there's just so many layers. It's not just you and Schwab; it's all the people, it's all the trustees, and all the people. For a great example is physical gold and silver. You have to trust that the not only does the company that's holding your metals stay in business when the banks are gone, you have to trust that the guards will not take your money, take your metal out of the vault. You have to trust that there's a way to ship and people to ship your physical gold and silver from their vault to your house.
Right.
And the mailman,
right.
And the mailman carrying heavy boxes is gonna just bring it to your house and say, here's your wealth. No, it's insane to keep you're in this situation. And if it really is a derivative meltdown, which would take down every single bank and every financial institution, which means every company in the world, then your metal has to be within your touch only. And you have to be the one to take responsibility for it, because no one's gonna live up to your expectations of what they should do within the law, right or wrong. There will be no law in that scenario. So if you haven't gotten your money out, call Will Lear at Perpetual Assets. He'll help you out. He'll set you up with a self-directed IRA where you hold the metal in your own hands, and it's a great thing, and it takes about a month, so you better hurry.
Yep. Exactly, man. What's your take on this, doing away with cash? What's your take on that, bro?
Well, it's definitely a plan of the bad guys. Cash, they're going to say, oh, we have to do it because of terrorism. We have to do it because of drug dealers. There's only one reason that government wants to take cash out of the picture. It's to take away your freedom and take away your liberty. Yep. With no cash means they track everything. They control everything. For example, if they don't like you or you talk bad against the government, they can shut you out of the system. And all of a sudden, what are you going to do? How are you going to get food and groceries and rent and anything? They can so easily click a mouse and cut you out of the system. It's like one of those things, having a chip in your hand that keeps everything, and they can shut it off in a blink of an eye. Cash is freedom. Cash also is the only thing stopping these criminal banks from going too crazy with their tier one capital.
Yeah.
Cash in circulation means you can always go to your bank and pull out all your money. And if enough people do it, more than 10% or 8% of the people do it at the same time, the bank has no money. So yeah, they want it gone because it would stop if there was no cash available in a society. It will stop the run on the banks, which the banks would love to have, obviously. And then taxation. Oh my God. The government wants to tax you for everything. They have problems taxing cash transactions. Not a lot of problem. You pay, sales tax almost everywhere you go. If you add up all the tax that you have to pay for the system to run, not just income tax and property tax and all that, but there's gas taxes. There's tax every time you turn around. They're going to tax you. I think somebody did a study on how much of your money is actually taxed before you actually spend it, and it's over like 60 or 70%.
Oh, easily
ends up going to tax, and it's insane. And if the government got rid of cash, how easy would it be to tax every single little transaction you do? Because all your transactions will be electronic.
Yeah. Do you guys have like a bottle deposit tax out in California?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
It's
we
the
got that.
stupidest thing in the world. I want to buy like a
Oh,
case
you
of
want to
water
hear
for
something?
$3. Comes out
You
being
know
$5.
we have taxes on grocery bags.
You got to be
If you
kidding
don't,
me,
if
man.
you don't use your own grocery bag, they charge you a tax.
It's just ridiculous, man. It's like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
So the but here's my take on within the
yeah,
United States. If the bad guys were going to win this battle, yeah, you could see a move to take away cash. The bad guys didn't win. The good guys won. There's going to be no banning of cash. Look
right,
at the new $100 bill. Look what it says right above the 100. It says,
right.
we reserve the right to overthrow our government when they piss us off. They put it written in gold on the new $100 bill right above the 100. There's going to be no confiscation of cash in the United States.
Yep. Exactly. No, I agree with that, man. It says it's the right of the people to overthrow the government, inscribed in gold.
Yeah, it's
Which
from the Declaration of Independence. That I love. I put a video out, a YouTube video, the hidden meanings in the new $100 bill. You got to check that out. It's really cool what that bill represents, what's on the left side and what's on the right side, and all the gold on that bill, and what it says, and why there are only 2000. These are only 2009 dated bills. You know that. And what was happening in January of 2009? We were going through potentially a crash of the system, and they have not made any more of those bills since 2009. It's very interesting. And you think about the $100 bill. Why was it the very last bill to be, changed and put into with all the security features and all that? I mean, the $100 bill is the most counterfeited bill in the world. It's known as a super note around the world because everybody counterfeits the $100 bill. And why would the U.S. Treasury wait to make it the very last bill? Now, they haven't done the dollar because of all the Illuminati stuff on the back, but the $1 bill. But the $100 bill was the very last bill to be changed.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for all this. It all has to do with the crashing of the system, and that's it's where we're getting to right now. And the next bill that will be printed will probably be a 2018 $100 bill. And what will it say on it? I hope it says right across the front in gold that we beat the bad guys.
That's funny. Well, changing gears, man, a little bit. Subject that we like to touch upon every so often here on the show. What is the exact location of Grand Canyon gold and those Egyptian artifacts?
Oh my God! I told you I'm writing a book on this whole thing right now.
Yeah.
Now this is a little background. The Egyptian artifacts that have been found in the Grand Canyon, and if you look at the Grand Canyon, I mean, they look like pyramids. They look like really old pyramids that are falling apart in this part of the Grand Canyon, a specific part. And that's exactly what they are, truthfully. That's exactly what they've even found Egyptian writings on these decrepit.
Yeah, the hieroglyphs, right?
Yeah. Anyway, so it all goes back to a story in the Arizona Gazette in the early 1900s, 1906 or something like that, that the Smithsonian was they found this huge kind of tunnel in the side of the wall of the Grand Canyon, and they found all these Egyptian artifacts and huge caverns within. Like it was gigantic, and they say it could hold 50,000 people. The American Indians of the time, said that the ant people built them, and these are people that they supposedly higher beings that lived within the walls of the Grand Canyon. Interesting stuff. Is it true? I think it's absolutely true. And I have, been doing all this research, and I do know some people who have, or one person who has seen the army, or it's a Marine base within the Grand Canyon that is in charge of guarding this stuff, and the Smithsonian's pulling out all these Egyptian artifacts still. Now comes the bigger conspiracy, the gold side of it. If you see a movie called McKenna's Gold, it's all about this guy searching for this lost gold treasure. He through the Grand Canyon. He finds a big seam of gold, goes up this cliff, blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of the same story as the Egyptian stuff. That's just the background. It's just the movie. But, as we know, a lot of these movies kind of give you hints to what's going on secretly in the background. In 1912, the cover of the New York Times, there's an article, and it says vast riches found, vast gold riches found within the banks of the Grand Canyon. And it describes the place it is. It says there will be billions of ounces of gold pulled from the banks of the Colorado River, and it goes into detail about how hard it is to get there. And remember, this is the early 1900s. It's not like there was railroad tracks going up there or anything. There was nothing. You got there on mule, and the Grand Canyon was so rugged, it was just massively extreme. So supposedly they found a gigantic seam of gold, as well as like the sandbanks were just filled with gold dust. And that was announced on the cover of the New York Times. And that was, if you own gold or you ran a monetary system at that time, what would you think? The U.S. had I think there was about 100 million ounces in circulation at the time of monetary gold. And they're talking about billions of ounces. It would have destroyed the currency of the United States. It would have caused major socioeconomic, it would wreak havoc on the whole world. So what did they do? They shut it down. You never heard about it again. The company that had begun to mine it. I mean, they even built a steamship on the. You had to haul the parts in on donkeys. They built the steamship, and to carry coal like 15 miles up and down the one of the. It's very kind of questionable where it is. But according to the article, it's at Lee's Ferry. So everybody, of course, went to Lee's Ferry, and it would take them a month to get there, and they didn't find anything, right? But the steamship was there, and you can see the steamship to this day. And a lot of the research I've been doing has been about, why would they spend all this money and just all of a sudden, and it was bankers out of Chicago that were funding this thing. And the reason there was a specific guy in charge, the reason he stopped mining was the bankers shut him off from funding.
Yeah. Wow.
And he kept going back there, every 10 years or so to try to, find the spot and all this stuff. But it's really interesting story. The back kind of what I'm figuring out is that no, there wasn't a find there at Lee's Ferry. But the announcement on the cover of the New York Times sent a shiver down the spine of Woodrow Wilson because he was in charge of, he had to sign off on the Federal Reserve Act. Mm-hmm. So that was the big scuttlebutt was, oh my God, if this is released, the world will fall apart.
Sure.
And by the way, we, the bankers, can take care of this. Why don't you sign away the monetary policy of the United States to us bankers, and we'll take care of it. Now, was it a fake story just to get Wilson? Because Wilson was very much anti-banker, and that was the big crazy thing: is why did Wilson sign the Federal Reserve Act on December 23rd when most of Congress was gone? Why did Wilson sign it? And it might have been because he was scared into doing it. But then it gets back to, was it real or was it not real? And there are a lot of signs that it was real, just not at Lee's Ferry. So everybody's saying, well, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I'm kind of tracking it down, but even if you find it, you're not going to be able to go there. There's a lot of areas within the Grand Canyon you can't go, and it's guarded by the U.S. Marines. So, even if we found it, you can't fly over it. You can't, hike into it. So until all the secrets are, told about the hidden gold in the United States in the Grand Canyon. Chocolate Mountain's easier to figure out because it was announced in newspapers that, Dianne Feinstein put it into a desert wildlife preserve. And it's all these secrets will be uncovered. But I think I think the biggest gold mine ever found was in the Grand Canyon, and wouldn't that be a cool vacation spot though, to see the gold caverns of the Grand Canyon and the Egyptian artifacts, and tour the old pyramids, and I mean it would be
It would
awesome.
be incredible, and it will completely challenge the very established history of who the hell we are and what the real history of this country is. I mean, it's America, and people think it's named after Amerigo Vespucci. It's not. The natives of this country called it Amaruca, land of the plumed serpent. That's exactly what the name of this place was, Amaruca.
Look at you. Did you know that all these mountains within the Grand Canyon are named after Egyptian
Yes.
temples, like the
Yes, they
Tower of Ra, and yeah,
Of course, there's no coincidence there, Bix. There's no coincidence there whatsoever. It's just,
but
it's
the
just,
amazing thing is it was the American Indians that named them.
yep.
In their language, but yeah, they called it Ra and Isis and all that. So, and there's a lot of American Indian language that is exactly the same as the Egyptian.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely correct, man.
And maybe if all this Antarctica stuff comes true with the pyramids they're finding down there and all the technology, maybe Trump is going to let humanity see the truth. It's time. It's time. It's time. It's time. No more hiding. It's time to open the coffers and let everybody know who we are and why we're here, and how we've been abused by these people who've controlled us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely correct, man. Which brings us to the end of the program.
Well, that was quick.
Time flies when you're having fun, my man. Time flies when you're having fun. Go ahead, man. Plug your social, how people could subscribe to you, especially this newsletter. I mean, a lot of the questions that we've covered today was directly out of the private group of Road to Ruta subscribers that Bix was doing a private Q&A with. You guys want to be a part of that and enjoy all the information that Bix comes out with. You need to sign up to his website, his newsletter, and the Road to Ruta report. Bix, why don't you give out the subscription details on that, man? How awesome it is.
Sure. Well, there's the free side, which is go to roadtoruta.com and put your email in. You get free emails. There's a paid site that gets more in depth, and it's an interesting subscription. It's a year-long subscription. It's $299, but you get $30 in Bitcoin, a hard copy Bitcoin wallet back. I mail it to you. So it's actually $270, but Bitcoin last year went up 5x since when I started, when it was down to like 220 or something like that. So another 5x, and it pays for the whole subscription for the year. So if you're a big fan of Bitcoin, or if you're just starting out with Bitcoin, the private road subscription can get your feet wet. And I see nothing but great things for Bitcoin. I also have a YouTube channel that I've been doing a lot of work on, and I'm currently recording an audio version of my first book, Silver, Gold, Bitcoin, and God.
Nice.
And that I will be publishing on the YouTube channel chapter by chapter. It's kind of fun because I hadn't read that book in a couple of years, and everything I talk about is so relevant today that, it's going to be good. So sign up and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and sign up to V's channel as well and subscribe to that.
Absolutely. And with that being said, guys, you can follow us on Bix. What's your Twitter, man, so they can follow you? You forgot to plug that.
Oh, I don't even know. Road to Ruta.
At Road to Ruta.
At Road to Ruta, and then I am getting more and more into social media. I haven't done much. I was just a writer for a long time. For 15 years, I've just been I send out emails and I write reports that I publish at roadtoruta.com, and now I'm getting into the social media, and it's fun.
It is fun.
It's a crazy
we're
world.
Gonna start Snapchatting soon, Bix.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Yeah. Wait till the live broadcast. We're gonna do. I'm telling you, probably this spring or this summer, we're gonna be doing Hump Day live from New York. We're gonna do at least one episode. We're gonna fly you in. We're gonna set you up in a nice hotel, and we'll do it live in Times Square, bro.
I'm all over that.
Live video.
Yeah, we can't tell people where we are, though. We can't tell people where we are.
No, that's true.
You know how many bad guys would love to come beat us up?
Oh my God! Don't worry, I'll protect you. I'm not only a gorilla, I look like one, so it's all right.
All right, good.
All right, my man. Thank you so much for being on, and folks, again, subscribe to Bix's work, his YouTube channel. Bix, you forgot to plug your YouTube channel as well, bud.
Oh yeah, Road to Ruta.
Yeah,
right? Road to Ruta YouTube channel. Road to Ruta.
All right, there you go. Good deal. All right, guys. Thank you again for joining us for another exciting Hump Day. We'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And with that being said, CJ, take it away. We are over and out.